Welcome to the Scale with Pros podcast with your host, myself, Cody Barton, the number one place to be if you want to build a business beyond yourself. And for all the resources we talk about in the show, make sure to head over to scalewithpros.com. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. And today I have a special guest, Mr. Landon Moore. And this is, another guest that has a real estate business. And it has one of those businesses that I think that a lot of people strive for and has allowed him and his family to have, great freedom and flexibility of, work, location, independence. And, but before I go into that too much, I'd love to have you, Landon, kind of share, a little bit of background with everyone of, okay, well, how did you initially start in business and, maybe then get into the business that you're in now? And then kind of fast forward us through to where the business is at today. What's your team look like, and what are the upcoming months and year look like for the goals for your company?
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Thanks for having me here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think for me, growing up, I grew up in Central Oregon, kind of a smaller town where the theoretical ceiling was either to consider college or get a job out of college working with your family or whatever it may be. And I chose the path of college. I ended up getting my mechanical engineering degree out of Oregon State and lived the dream that my dad set out of getting my degree. I was the first in my family to do so. And having achieved that, I achieved everything and more my parents wanted, right? But there was still a hole in terms of not only my own ambitions, my own fulfillment, my own joy, and what I wanted to achieve, but for my own family's legacy too. I got married and we moved down to Phoenix, Arizona from Oregon to take another engineering role that I was hired on and relocated for, and my wife was working full-time as a labor and delivery nurse, and we both have two quintessential W-2 incomes. Me as a mechanical engineer, my wife as a labor and delivery nurse. And so, in many eyes, we did it, right?
Yeah.
We got the high-paying traditional W-2s. We achieved our parents' dreams, but we were still left unfull. And for me, I didn't have the childhood support of business owners around me and that mechanism and that community to kind of guide me in terms of business ownership or even real estate or anything. And so, really where it spurned and started is the podcasts and the books that are out there, and just I had drive, I had ambition in terms of learning. I love learning, and it was really it started from a desire for more, and so started listening to various podcasts, probably the Bigger Pockets series and reading the Rich Dad Poor Dads and all of the same Bibles, if you will, that we all real estate investors have read, and then what really kicked it off beyond just simply that consistency in the books and the podcast was actually going to a local real estate meetup. And so not knowing what to expect, not knowing what value someone like me who at that time owned no real estate, had barely any money, and all those aspects, what value can I provide someone like a Cody or someone else who's at this meetup for their own ambitions and to provide value to others too, And so I was intimidated to go. My hands were trembling going. And I remember distinctly these meetups were once a month. And I went to the first one there. I pulled myself to go, right? And I left there just energized. There's people like me. There's a community like me in terms of what I want. And, I enjoy my W-2. My wife enjoys her W-2. It's not one of those scenarios of, we got to get out, we hate our lives, we hate our job. It was not that at all.
Yeah.
It was just, we want more. We want something more for our family than just what's given to us. And I remember the next month that meetup was about to happen again. And I can't tell you how many times I tried talking myself out of going to that meetup again, out of intimidation and fear and all those things. But my wife pushed me and supported me to go again. And what do you know? I came out of that next one even more motivated and excited, and so it just started to roll, and the momentum started to pull to where this was something I could make happen. And we started to take initiatives in that front of investing, and we did a cash out refinance on our, at that time, current primary, use that as a down payment to buy our next one, and then turn that property into a rental property. You know, and we did that a couple of times to where we moved quite often to where my wife was like, I'm done doing this. And in that time frame, still educating, still learning, and having grown up an only child, I had the limited mindset of I have to do everything myself, right? I have to do everything. And so up until about 3 years ago, that was the case. And so I was a one-man show. And what that really means is I'm wholesaling properties, I'm finding buyers, I'm raising capital, I'm doing my own lead generation, I'm trying to find distressed sellers maybe that are in pre-foreclosure, or all these aspects of things, and carrying out every task, every role throughout everything. And it got to a point of, sure, we were doing well from a standpoint of probably 3 to 5 deals a month I was exercising, which is pretty decent. Having gone from nothing and not knowing anything to doing 3 to 5 wholesales and maybe keeping a rental a month, to where I'm burning the candle at both ends, because mind you, I'm still working my W-2 as an engineer. My wife's working as well. We're now considering children, and I'm now also working as secondary side hustle with real estate. And it got to a point where I needed to delegate tasks, as well as a lot of those systems I can put in place, to where fast forward to now in 2024, it's August 2024, you know, we have 5 acquisition specialists on our team that handle the top end of the funnel of a lot of the outreach, a lot of the lead management. We have one closer who is, his role, Jesus's role, is to close the leads from all of our lead managers and acquisition specialists. And then I have a dispositions manager. So that person's role is to find the end buyer for the property in that market, wherever that may be, and sell the deal, and go from there to start building out that conveyor belt. And so now we're at a point where, like I said, we have 5 acquisition specialists and then a disposition manager, and doing about 5 to 7 deals a month right now, and wholesales. And then I own a real estate portfolio on the side.
Dude, that's amazing. And you know what I really enjoy about your story too, Landon, is there's a lot of people that are listening that have made, or are like, there are some people that listen that they're like, you know, trying to make that leap and getting their business going, and you know, then those that are doing the one-man band deal. And there's a lot of people that, you know, in lack of a better, it's like the golden handcuffs almost, in a way of like, you and your wife both have great jobs. Like, those are phenomenal. Like, that's like the ideal thing that, you know, you could be in after. It's like, you know, great engineering role, you know, great nurse role. And, you know, it's like you make enough money where it's like everything is, you know, can be super comfortable, but it's not the life-changing, like, hey, we can have like multiple homes and like have like super like independent freedom to do whatever we want type, you know, money, right? And so, you know, I think it's a interesting, you know, leap. And I guess I just want to confirm this. So are you and your wife still working in any of the, obviously, you know, I know from before we were talking about, you know, you guys are spending time in Oregon right now and bouncing between Montana and Arizona. So I would imagine she's probably not doing the nurse thing anymore, but are you still doing the engineering role day to day?
Yeah, exactly. So we, you know, here in in February of this year, my wife gave birth to our beautiful son, Macklin. And so she entered into her maternity leave for 12 weeks or whatever it was, I think till the end of May. And then at that point, I was able to retire her from her labor and delivery position as a nurse. She loves doing it. Like, she loves it so much so, like, she has every baby she's ever delivered in her phone on the notes.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of crazy. And like, what's wild too is the nursing side of things. This is a little side story, is that she's actually delivered by herself, I want to argue 14 to 20 babies herself over her career. No doctor showed up. Like, it's kind of, these labor and delivery nurses are so gangster, so cool.
Wow.
But anyways, side note, and so June 1st, we took off from Arizona, where we reside full time, and went up to our house that we operate as a short-term rental in Kalispell, Montana. I worked fully remote as a mechanical engineer, and I still do to this day, right now, still doing it, because I do enjoy it. I don't hate my job so much so, and it's not a burden, and my company allows me the remote abilities to work wherever, whenever. And so I still work my full-time mechanical engineering job, But my wife has taken a step back because we now have 2 children, that she is full-time mama bear. And so that's what she wants to do. And it's beautiful. Our dynamic is great right now.
That's awesome. Super cool. And so that's really cool, as far as the freedom that's, allowed you guys to have. And then, now you have these 5 acquisitions or salespeople. For some people that are listening that don't know the wholesale business as much, it's, marketing for distressed, homeowners, getting those properties under a contract or a purchase agreement for a discounted rate. And then when Landon's talking about disposition person, somebody that's then selling those contracts to another investor for a profit, essentially. And so, you've been able to do that while on the side, still being able to keep that job and be building a business that's, well over $500,000 and creeping up on, $1 million a year in revenue. And so I guess what would be, I'd love to ask this to you, because there's a lot of people that say, well, Cody, I could do that, but, I got this full-time thing and like I have other responsibilities and, so that's why I can't be successful and do that, right? And so what would you tell that person was the secret for you of like, yes, you still have that job that you have to, perform for, and you've been able to, on the side, build a business that's, creeping up on $1 million a year in revenue on the side of what you're, doing day to day. I mean, what has been the thing that's allowed you to be able to do that? Because, there's plenty of people with plenty of excuses of why that would be impossible.
Totally. And trust me, I've thought about those things and those questions and those excuses, and I hear them all the time too. And I think what separates, truthfully, anyone, and me included, isn't that I'm not someone special. Again, I grew up small town Oregon. I dug ditches in the summers. I got my engineering degree, but I didn't have any real estate mentor prowess growing up to start this. And so for me, what separates me is purely discipline and consistency. Is that I'm going to get 1% better, that moniker, 1% better every day. But really what it comes down to is simply showing up every single day and making a consistent effort towards taking action and doing the thing. And so for me, how it worked managing and how it currently works managing my W-2 as well as my real estate business is now at a point where I have resources and other people as a part of it that take care of those tasks that would be time sucks for me, which is really the top end of the funnel, which is really the cold calling outreach, which is really the management of the leads and all of those aspects, so I can focus on higher money making activities. And so in the early days, I played a large role in a lot of those aspects. And so how I had to make that work is by being hyper intentional with my Google calendars. And so even to this day, if you were to take a snapshot of my Google Calendar, you can see that I am by the 15, by the 30-minute time blocks on various aspects of things, and I batch my times together. So today is podcast day. So I've now done 3 podcasts today, including this one, and being hyper intentional in my time frames and what I'm doing. And by me being organized and leading with intention, it makes every day 1% better and successful. It's not that I'm going to have, these amazing deals pop up and it's I'm lucky. I'm doing it by force, and I put the right people and the right resources in place. And so for me, the way I'm balancing it is, my lunches aren't just sit and watch YouTube videos or TikToks. I'm intentional with that hour that I'm on that lunch to maximize from 12 to 1, which is in the prime of my money-making day. And now, we're at a point where I do have 2 children. Like, I'm so intentional, I have to time block time with just my wife, time block time with my children, and be intentional. And some of that's difficult for my wife to understand and comprehend, because she goes, oh, I'm just a time block. And it's not that at all. It's moreover for me to be hypercritical in terms of managing my time to ensure that I'm putting her as a priority. Because when you don't lead your day with intention and when you don't schedule your day out in time blocks, it's so easy to get lost doing this and not being intentional and doing things that little devil on your shoulder that used to be you wants you to go back and do, because that's the place of comfort. And so if you can mentally get over that leap and be proactive on scheduling your time and knowing what to do and being around the people who are doing the thing, it makes it so much easier.
Oh my God, there's so many nuggets to unpack from that. And what's funny is I also do the batch. I batch my work week as well. Mondays and Tuesdays for me are meeting days. Like that's when I do my one-on-ones with my team. That's when we do all of our, company like L10 meetings, so all of those are out of the way. Any other type of meetings that need to fit in, it goes in Monday, Tuesday. And then so I have my Wednesdays, which are my free work days, which is I don't allow anyone to schedule anything on my calendar. But if I want to actively work on a project I'm excited about, I can schedule things on the calendar to do that with other people if I want. But otherwise, it's just a free work day where I can just focus on projects I'm actively working on and not being pulled to other directions of things. I could just focus. And then my Thursday, Fridays are when I'll batch, content or podcasts like this. This is the third one I've done between yesterday and today. And so it's funny that, we're both doing that same thing. And I've found that that's been is helpful for me too, is, I map out my entire week before the week starts. Like Sundays, I do my smart week planning, I call it. And, I plan out all of, and I think it's really important what you said on the personal side too. I plan out everything I'm going to do for the week. So it's like, okay, we're gonna do date night Friday night. We're gonna go to this friend's thing on Saturday, so we'll block out that. But Saturday morning, I want to work on something, so I'm just gonna block out a couple hours to work on a project that I'm just excited to work on Saturday. And okay, I'm going to the gym at these times with my trainer. These are the times that I'm doing these other things during the week. So it's like blocking out the personal stuff, the fitness, the family, and the business. So then you could just plan your day. Like I'm a big believer in this, like don't start your day until you've finished your day. Like start your day once you've finished your planning for the day or for the week. And so you can move with intention, because as every business owner does, we also get hit with things that weren't part of the plan of the day. And we have to put out those fires or solve those problems, and inevitably it's going to happen. But the more intentional we are with that planning, the more we're able to get done, and then still be able to manage putting out fires as they come. But it's being in control and responding to what we're doing versus reacting to the day-to-day and chaos. And so I thought it was really interesting that that was one of the things that you do super intentionally as well. And I think it's an area where if people put a little bit more time into their planning, they would get more results because they're actually putting some focused effort into that.
Totally, yeah. And I always relate it to, and I actually took one jujitsu class, but it was like the worst class you could have ever taken, because apparently it was this thing called black belt night where people get awarded their black belts or something. So everyone from the gym showed up and no one did any jujitsu. It was just like an award ceremony. So I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back. But someone who is very good at jujitsu, a friend of mine, shared with me a little inside knowledge of why he's successful in jujitsu. It's because when he's making a move, he's doing a move to set up for the next move. So he's already thinking about the next move. And I always relate that to golf, is when we're playing a hole, I'm not thinking about my drive. Sure, am I about to hit my drive? Yeah, but what's most important is my next shot. I actually, like you said, you don't start your day till you end your day. I am already thinking about where the pin location is on that green, so I know I can work backwards of which side of the fairway I want my ball to be sitting on to give me the best angle of attack towards that flag in various aspects. So very similarly, every night, I'm operating in a non-reactive mindset. I'm being very proactive for my day. Of course, reactions and things are going to come up, and issues and things. It's just part of it, right? And that's the role we play. And those give us opportunities too. For me, is okay, they're coming to me with this problem. Why are they coming to me? Why are they unable to solve it themselves? What are some things that I can implement such that they know the right resources or who to go to solve that, such that I'm not the problem solver? Because I'll be honest, a engineer, if you want to boil it down, I'm a glorified, really good problem solver in engineering. Yeah. I have a structure, I have a flow, I know my givens, I know all those little aspects of life. And so when I look at every single thing, everything I'm trying to look at is how to solve it, how to make it more efficient in all those aspects. So I'm good at it, but by default I'm good at it because I'm trained that way. And so even in marriage and parenting and all those aspects, where many times I shouldn't be solving that problem. I need to delegate or have and teach you the resources so you can solve it yourself, so you don't have to come to me to solve it every time. And so there's so much of that stuff, and you hit the nail on the head. If people would be more intentional with their calendars, you show me your calendar and I'm going to have an idea of who you are as a person and how you operate, who you're around, what you're doing. And that's that's been a huge, I hate the word hack, but that's been a huge hack for me, is being very proactive in my calendar. I get way more done. I know I'm excited to choose the tasks I'm doing, and I can look at my latency, my moments of the scroll and those aspects, and are those energy audits, are those things really fueling me, are those hurting me, so.
Yeah, and I love this. Like, I nerd out on that stuff so heavy, and I feel like a broken record talking to certain team members or other business partners on things. Like, dude, it's so helpful when you're able to plan like that. And I'm definitely not an engineer, but I definitely have, I think, a lot of that process orientedness of mind, of like how, like, I look at everything and like the 100 pieces that have to all come together for the thing to function correctly, and all the potential things that could break the thing from working, and it's like, and then so it's that very process oriented mind. But so I'm curious for you, like, because you made that jump, and so I want to go back to this where you went from solo guy to then having a team. And there's a lot of people that don't do that. Like, I was literally just talking to our Scale with Pros group. I was talking to a guy earlier, and he was like, I've tried to hire, and then like they just let me down. So I'm grunt work pushing through, and he's like, I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, and like I'm making a lot of money. Like, the guy makes $500,000 plus a year and take home, and so like he's doing great, but he's just like burnt out, and just like, if he's not doing it, nothing's happening. And so there's people that are in that camp, and they're trying to make that transition. So what do you think was helpful for you when you went from, okay, I don't have a team, to then bringing on some team members, and like working through that mentally as well? Because I'm sure for you, unless you perfected it immediately, where all the hires you made were perfect and they all worked great and crushed it for you, that you had to work through that mentally of like, oh my gosh, this is frustrating and people are letting me down, and how you keep going and keep doing it. Like, talk me through that process, because I know there's people listening that they're like, maybe it's better to just stay small and just do it on my own, so I don't have to deal with these freaking people and screwing me up.
Yeah, no doubt. And what's funny is I'm actually right now, for the first time ever, I'm reading a book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell right now, and I
Phenomenal
know you've read
book.
it.
Yeah, I've read it.
But when I remember it distinctly. That month that I made my first hire, rather the month after this month, I was in escrow for 5 homes all by myself at 5 varying stages of escrow to purchase the home, right? So one was just at the preliminary stage, one was set to close, a couple in the middle, and we have firestorms in all 5. There's never just a linear path. There's always something that happens, and I'm having to put out fires left, right, here, there, whatever it may be. And mind you, one of those 5 homes I'm keeping that I still own as a short-term rental and second home for my family up in Montana. And so I'm planning out the furnishings, I'm planning out setting up the short-term rental listing and all those aspects, flying up and doing all the things for that. And so like I'm running with my head cut off, but I'm also excited because it's going to be like a $50,000 a month for just me. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the life I want to live. And my wife came to me. Yeah, right. And my wife came to me and she goes, I can't live like this. Because like for me, I will just put my head down and then just grind.
Just grunt, dude. I'm like that too. I'm just like, I will work like a horse for 14 hours and not even blink an eye.
Totally. And so I looked at that and what do I value? And I valued the relationships I have with the people that are around me, including my parents, including my other family members, including my wife, and my children. My children were super young at that age, and so like it wasn't as if it was a matter of entertaining them. It was like they were still bottle feeding and stuff. So it was just that. It wasn't anything cumbersome, but still, And so, is that month awesome? Heck yeah, it was awesome. Was it a lot of work? Heck yeah, it was a lot of work. But it's not sustainable being a solopreneur in that aspect.
Yeah.
I could stay small, do 1 or 2 deals a month, just me, and operate that way. But I think what I did at that time is I realized is I need to, without knowing this book existed, buy back my time. And so where that really started was I go, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? I'm really good at closing and engineering deals. I can engineer, like we just closed a property up in Montana here recently that was crazy deal. We bought a $775,000 house. They had a $580,000 mortgage. So roughly $200K of equity. We gave them $50,000 down on the equity. So $150,000 is left over that we placed as a second mortgage against the home at no payments, 0% interest for 12 years. And the house comes fully furnished and includes a drift boat. I'm able to engineer and close these gangster deals.
Is this house on the lake up there? Is it on one of the lakes?
No, it's not on a lake. Not on a lake. It's just in town. It's funny enough. I found it when my wife and I were up there in June this year, walking our kids in the stroller, and I saw a for sale sign, and I just popped my head in and just had a conversation. And so I'm good at those organic closings. Yeah. But what I'm not good at, and what I don't have time for because I have a W-2, is volume calls.
Yeah.
And speaking to non-motivated sellers or unwarm leads in various aspects. And so I'm also not very good at dispositions and finding buyers for my deals. And so my first hire was, I looked at A to B as acquisitions and B to C as dispositions, finding a buyer for my deals. And so I go, I need someone to just handle this portion. I'm really good at acquisitions. Like, that's my bread and butter. So I go, I'm just going to delegate the dispositions. And that was awesome. Boom. Now now those 5 deals, right? Now, once we're in escrow, I don't have to worry about them anymore. My job is just to get them into escrow, and then my dispositions manager is going to handle the rest of it. Boom. Now half my life is back. And then as we've grown to that next step, and that next step is my dispositions manager goes, Landon, I want to fire you from your job. And so really honing me in terms of what my skill set is, what makes me good at what I do, and all those aspects is to find acquisition specialists that can handle the top of the funnel front end, the cold calling, the outreach, all those things, dealing with outbound and inbound leads, to where our first hire, he's still with us right now, he's now elevated himself to closer because he got really good at the top end of the funnel, got really good at managing his leads, got good at closing his leads, and through the progress, he's now the closer on our team, which has taken me out of that role in some capacity. I still love flexing that muscle and closing deals, and I'm still very much a part of that aspect. But our first hire was a front end, right? The next step was that, and then we got another one, and then got another one. But then what happened? What happened was we hired wrong. We thought we hired the right person. That person had different ambitions, different goals, started out hot. But the second he got an ounce of, I'll put it this way, the second he got a taste of that first bite of that ribeye, he goes, I'm done, I'm good, I got my ribeye. And he just disappeared. And so that person had to be let go. And then we brought on another person. And here's another fold too, and I'm sure you see this, Cody, because I'm sure you guys kill this onboarding process, is that, I only want to bring on people onto our team that are absolute rock stars. And I want to be in that room, in that text thread, in that email, in that meeting with rock stars and people who are go-getters, high achievers, whatever it may be. And so that being said, one of the conversations we have when the people come onto our team is I fully expect in 6 months, if I do my job correctly, provide you the right resources, the right training, the right calibrations and everything, that you're going to have a decision you have to make here in 6 months of, dude, do I just go start my own thing and do this? Or do I stay with the team and grow within the team and build that up from there? Because, there's a point where I want to train the people on our team to replace me and become so good at what they do that we can then elevate them and then get their replacements and have them train them, Mm-hmm. And so ultimately for us, that's kind of what we're doing. And we've had that happen. We had a gentleman, his name is Colin. He came onto our team in I believe it was October of last year. And right on the 6-month mark, I remember I was on the driving range hitting a bucket of balls, and I got a text of hey, can we FaceTime? And he went off, and he's creating his own company, and good for him. I support that ambition and that drive. Why can't I not when I'm that exact person, And so, but that allowed me to have some reflection on what we're doing, how we hire, what to look for. You have to fail to succeed, so you have to have those things happen in your company on both ends of the spectrum to know how to counteract those things moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. And as far as the bringing people on, it's when you're first starting, you're kind of anyone with a pulse that's willing to come and work and just do the work, it's like, come on in, right? And then like over time you start to refine that of like, okay, well that doesn't really work out as well. And to then the point where like our companies typically, like most roles, have like a 2 to 3 step interview process that they go through, and this whole job description that's really refined, and these giving them their clarity of their role, giving them clarity of goals of what winning looks like in the role, their 30, 60, 90-day plan, and how they can, win long term with the company. And, that was something that, we struggled with early on, where it's like people would, then want to go start their own business and all that, right? And so, we do still have people that have like their own little side hustles and things that they've created outside of working at our companies. But now, we've really, I've really put an emphasis with our team of like, what the vision, and the mission can look like, with us hitting that, and like what it means for them, and like showing like, hey, when we grow to this point, these roles are going to be available because we're going to need them. And so it's a choice for that team member of like, hey, you could be coached up along the way to be the guy or the girl that does the role.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, someone's going to. So it's going to be your opportunity to become the type of person that can do it, or we'll have to have someone else do it. And so, we always try to continuously like share like what's the future look like, and what could that look like for the team member, and always trying to fit in like how we could help achieve those team members' goals within the company, and in order to try to keep people for as long term as possible, as long as it's a fit for them and it's a fit for us. So
Exactly. Yeah, totally agree with you. And I think, one thing that we did, Cody, on our front end, on our hiring process is really twofold. One thing, and it's crazy, the alignment between this book, Buy Back Your Time, and what I've already started to implement, is one lesson I learned in the book is don't work with someone until you've worked with them. And so what that looks like on my end is, every week I host a weekly real estate meetup. I do it right now here in Oregon, where I'm at, here in Bend, Oregon. But I would do so when I was in Phoenix, and I will get it going here in a month when I'm back. And that weekly real estate meetup is what I call the Power Hour, where I have 12, I keep it intimate, so it's like 12 people, and we're in a room, random people. You can sign up on Eventbrite right now for that kind of meetup. And I'm bringing leads, and we're making phone calls and taking action, because you have to take action. But really what's happening is I'm seeing who's going to show up consistently every single week. I'm seeing who's going to put the work in every single week. And what do you know? If you look at the makeup of my team, every single person on there is someone who is consistently showing up to those meetups for themselves. Or I host a Zoom every single Tuesday in front of probably 120 people every single Tuesday within a real estate community I'm a part of. And it's people who show up to that every single week and have the courage, the bravery to step up and make a phone call in front of all those people. And we get to hear how they speak and how they operate and their goals and their ambitions and all those things. And so as a part of our hiring process, number one, we want to work with you before we work with you. Number two is we require you, and we give very vague instructions, is we want you to send 3 call recordings. We leave it at that, because what I want to see from there is, are you able to take the initiative and take the action to do the task and do it right and do it good? Or are you going to be a pain and ask 45 questions of which email to send to? And do you want it recorded with a video, or do you want it just audio recording? Or do you want this? Do you want that? And so it's a way to kind of see, hey, how's tomorrow going to look when problems do come up? Are you going to have the leadership within to go and solve it and know where to go? Like, we'll give you the resources on what to do and all the softwares and stuff. But are you going to be able to be nimble when I give you an instruction to take it and go solve it? And so there's so much of that is so key to the culture we have on our team and all those aspects. Like, one of our requirements too is I require every single person to every morning send at least 5 to 10 things that they're grateful for in that moment. So we start each day with a moment, or like a mindset of gratitude. And I go and I do more enhancements behind that, but I'm not going to force someone to do that. But it's moreover setting the foundation of our culture on our team is a place of gratitude, and we're not just independent operators, And so it's so fun to be able to craft that. And then you touched on it earlier, is that I can do it wherever. So like right now, I'm in Bend, Oregon, where I grew up. I get to come back here. I'm playing golf 2 to 3 times a week. like here after this video, my wife and I, we have an Airbnb we're going to go stay at in a town called Sun River, where there's this indoor water park. We're going to go take our kids and go swimming. And then here in a month, we're going to go back down to Phoenix when it's not 100,000 degrees and get to appreciate and enjoy the weather down there and go golf with you and do all those aspects. And so that's the beauty of business ownership and what we get to do.
I love that. And it's, I'd love to hear that on like the, we won't work with you until we've worked with you. And, you know, one of the things that we implemented about probably a year and a half ago is we call them our work studies, which is really just our second part of interviews with people where, you know, regardless of the role, because obviously certain roles, it's like, you know, it's like, how do you do that with like someone that's like a staff accountant, right? Like they're not going to make a phone call. You know, it's like there's certain roles that, sure. So what we've done is like, we'll create little work studies where we can vet them where, for example, you know, Ben, our CFO, he actually did hire a new staff accountant about a month ago. And he had, you know, candidates coming in through the pipeline and then a few that made it to the technical part, which is our work study. And as a part of that, they come in, they have to answer, he had like a 5 or 10 questionnaire thing to like understand their competencies in accounting. And then he gives them a set of books that are all jacked up. And then he like gives them like an hour as like the working part of their interview of like, okay, here you go. Like, you know, spend some time, work through this, and then I need you to tell me all of the things wrong with these books, and then, you know, how you would go about correcting them. And then that's literally their part of their interview. So it's like, we're going to see, is this person actually able to do the job? Because they're going to come in and do that. And, you know, whether it's that or video editors, you know, we send them, you know, a clip, and it's like, all right, here's this. We need you to create 3 reels in 1 long form. No feedback. Yep. Look at the channel, and that's what we need you to go create. Or, you know, whatever the role is, we like to test those skills by giving them those specific tasks and seeing how well they do it. Because, you know, like you said, you don't know exactly what you're going to be getting. And even when people have a resume that says something, I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, I don't trust these resumes. They could have been at a bad company with their last role that was just mistitled. Like they could have been at their brother's company that was doing $100,000 a year, and they were really a bookkeeper, but their brother wanted them to feel special, so they called them a staff accountant. And it's like, well, then they're going to not have the skills you need for that other role. Yeah. So it's important to vet those things out during that interview process for sure.
Totally. Yeah, you have to. That's the resume. I've been learning that more recently too. Is resumes are garbage until you start to get to know someone. Because like someone like me, honestly, when you think of a quintessential mechanical engineer, like I can envision in my head what that person looks like, normal characteristics and all those aspects of things. I am not your typical engineer. I am so hyper extroverted and love to chat. I could sit here for 3 hours and just chat with you. But your typical mechanical engineer is going to hide behind their computer and just chug away at calculations and all those other things, not really be client facing and talk to people and be good at what they do, but not have the ability to interact with clients, interact with other people, and be enjoying to be around. And so that's where a resume is so hard to really grasp who someone really is. You know, sure, you can get the GPAs and work experience and cool adjectives and all that stuff, but until you speak to someone and whatnot, like, then you get a real grasp. So for me on my end, like, until I hear you talk to a seller or a real estate agent on the phone and I can hear your interactions, do you operate with integrity? Are you a good human? When the call goes bad, how do you react? You know, because it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be hard phone calls. There's going to be good ones, of course, you know, but how do you even react on the really good ones? You know, so all those little aspects, those matter. So. Yeah,
I love that. So with everything that you've done now, and, you know, as we're getting to the final little bit before we wrap up, you know, what's next for you and your business? What's the next goals, and, you know, for what you ultimately want to accomplish?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. We've developed a pretty good skill set in terms of our team and our operation, and in terms of single family residential real estate. Not only that, from a portfolio of rentals, like I own quite a few short-term rental properties, long-term rentals. I own a sober living home. And so we've done some really cool things on the rental standpoint, as well as the wholesaling. We've wholesaled a bunch of cash deals. My first ever wholesale of a property was actually a church in Arizona, in Phoenix. Kind of crazy. And we've done a ton of creative stuff, so seller finance or subject twos. and various. So we have a lot of tools in the tool belt and skill sets. And so we're taking that, I think, to the next level in our end, which we're actually going to go towards and focus our efforts. And we're picking our markets right now. We're in the beta of everything within self-storage, because we're going to take the levels of real estate acquisition, our creative financing with seller financing abilities to engineer these deals, and integrate it with business of a revenue generating business of a self-storage, where we can increase the NOI through, better marketing strategies. We can increase it with other revenue strategies like a billboard or a cell tower or whatever it may be on these properties or whatever. And so we're going to take it to the next level and start looking at these, we call it tier 3 markets for self-storage, which also does one thing too, is it eliminates tenants, because tenants are a freaking headache sometimes. So yes. No tenants, no toilets, probably still have termites, but a lot of those aspects can go the wayside, because we could sit here for 10 more hours and I could tell you Airbnb horror stories and all those little aspects of things. But it'll be nice to hopefully get something here where our goal is to get our first self-storage facility under contract by January 1st, 2025.
I love that. Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, that's within, as the time of recording, within the next 6 months, and, with everything that you've been able to do, I'm excited to see it come to fruition. So what would be, as we're wrapping up here, Landon, what would be the words of advice or encouragement to those that are, in that stage now, okay, working their way up towards, getting to $1 million a year and beyond, anything that you would just share with them that you wish someone shared with you in, your earlier stages of the journey?
Yeah, there's so many things, but, anecdotally speaking, and also right now, me going into a completely different, business and property type with self-storage, is I'm doing the things that I wish I would have done when I first got started in real estate, which is I'm putting myself around people who are doing the thing. And so I've been able to connect with, and I've now had 4 phone calls with current operators. Funny enough, Cody, this is a side note, is that property up in Montana that we just purchased with the drift boat, fully furnished, the full deal. Funny enough, it was an on-market property. The agent owns a self-storage facility that she bought on seller financing. And so the other day, she's coming up here in May of next year. Her balloon is coming up that she has to refinance or pay it off. And so I got to sit in a Zoom with her and she opened the books. She went through everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just got to talk about the deal and talk about her current day-to-day operations. And then I've talked to 3 other operators or investors who invest in self-storage. There's one gentleman here locally who owns 4 facilities here in this area. And it's just talking with the people who are doing the thing. And so for those of you who are curious and interested in watching this and afraid, just start connecting with people that are doing the thing. If it's buying an Airbnb, start going to searching Airbnb meetups or real estate meetups. I bet you someone at a real estate meetup owns a short-term rental. Start talking with them. Reach out to me, DM me, and I can get you in touch with the right people. I just recently met this couple in Vancouver, Washington, where I own a couple rental properties, and they were explaining to me that they have this property and they do these things, like, who do I need to talk to? I made a connection of someone within my phone, and they've now done 10 deals together just based off of that pathway, and I haven't made any money off of that connection. It was just a connection. And so I would say for you is connect with the people doing the thing, and they're going to help you, at least guide you in terms of doing what they're doing. If you get around someone like Cody, you're going to know how to properly manage your calendar. You're going to properly manage your days, your times, and those aspects. And maybe that's what you need in the season of your life to kind of get things in order and get on the right path. And so that's what I would say.
Oh, that's great. I kind of call it getting in the corridor of the business that you want to be in, for those that are maybe newer, or maybe your business is doing a couple of $100,000 a year and you're scaling it up to 7 figures plus, and getting around other business owners. It's like that whole saying of birds of a feather flock together. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that would be a really important thing that I'd also recommend for people to do. It's if your group of friends you're hanging out with aren't in a similar industry as you, you could be moving so much faster. anything that I'm doing or any new business that I'm in, like when we bought this residential cleaning company, I immediately was finding and identifying relationships with other people that had bigger residential cleaning companies so I could understand what they're doing, what things that maybe we're doing that we could share with them so we could move faster, they could go faster, and in any business it's that way. And it's getting around people, and like you said, you got out of your comfort zone from shaking going into that first real estate meetup to now where you are today, and all of the things that you want in this world are on the other side of that fear of getting out of your comfort zone and meeting new people that have the relationships, like you said, to that that couple in Vancouver, Washington. It's like all of the things and resources that everyone listening right now needs are out there, and somebody at some real estate meetup or at some paid community that you could join is that next resource or that next connection to help you go to exactly where you want in your business instead of you figuring it out on your own.
Yep. Yeah, no, I believe in collaboration over competition all day, and in that aspect too is like I believe in manifesting what you want and going out and not necessarily, it's not going to come tomorrow, it's not, but if you're working toward that goal of whatever that is and just don't give up, like there's a response in this world that's going to come your way. There's been so many things in my life that I've set out to achieve that inadvertently I meet a specific person in that journey. It may not have been to get to that point, but I met someone who has done the thing or can connect me with someone who's doing the thing, or we can partner or whatever aspect. Like you don't know the right things that are going to get brought into your corridor that are going to get you closer to achieving to get to the end of the corridor. So yeah, I completely agree, Cody.
So true. So as we wrap up, Landon, where can people find you, and what would you want people to reach out to you in regards to? So if maybe there's a mix of people on that listen to the show that are some are real estate investors, and then a lot of other type of online service or home service businesses as well. But how should people reach out to you?
Yeah, a couple different ways, mostly on Instagram. My Instagram name's @more_deals, MOORE, more deals, as well as my YouTube channel, @more_deals. You can go on there, and I have my own podcast as well too, and then various videos, mostly surrounding real estate stuff, but my primary mode of communication is through Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Landon, and tons of great value and helping. Again, what we want to do with everyone on Scale with Pros is helping people go from that 6 figures up to that 7 figures and beyond. So appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cody.